Alright, hello friends, and welcome to a tag video. So today I'm going to be doing the philosophy of reading tag because I was tagged by my friend Debra from Bookend with Debra quite a while ago, but I am finally getting around to doing my response video. So Debra, thank you so much for tagging me. I have not looked at these questions since I was tagged in the video probably at least 3 months ago at this point. So here we go. So the first question is, what's most important? A good character, plot, or message? I think that depends on the book. If it's going to be a plot-driven story, I think that the plot needs to be very well done and very well thought out. But I think I more often enjoy books that are character driven, so I think I'd probably have to go overall, I'd have to go with the characters being the most important, because they in themselves can tell a story even without a plot or a message. And I think messages should, I think, be more interpreted by the reader rather than told to us by the author. I think that they have a lot more impact that way. Number 2 says, should one read books about ideas or opinions they disagree with? Yes, of course. In order to have a well-rounded opinion, you should know both sides of the story or the argument or whatever it is that you have an opinion about. There's nothing I hate more than someone having an opinion about something they know absolutely nothing about. And the best way for you to defend your opinion is to know the opinion of others and know where you can find weak points in it to prove your side. So yes, we should absolutely have knowledge of things that we disagree with. Number 3, as tech advances, what do you think will be the role of books? I really don't think books are going to go anywhere, at least not anytime soon, certainly not in any of our lifetimes. I remember way back when e-readers first became available, like Kindles and the Nook books. Do we even have Nook books anymore? I never ever heard anybody mention a Nook or a Nook book. But anyway, I remember when those first came out, and I was anti e-reader. I refused to get a Kindle because I liked my paper books, and I just, no, I don't want to get rid of them. I didn't want to contribute to that problem. I did obviously give in eventually, and I'm really glad that I did. I think I have, it's either a first or second generation Kindle, and it's still the one that I have today, which is the one I bought back then as well. But it's been, I don't know how long it's been, 15, maybe not that long. 10, no, it was probably closer to 15 years ago or so. I don't know exactly when it came out, but it's been a good long while, and books have not gone anywhere. And I don't think they truly ever will disappear no matter what. So books will always have a place no matter what. And if it helps people consume books more readily or easily, then I say let's have them. 4, how important are summaries, review, and art in your book choosing? If we talk about art as in the cover art, I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but we all do, so that can play a big role. And then we have summaries and reviews. I honestly, it's not too often that I read the summary of a book and I'm just like, oh, I have to read that book, it sounds so good. I think what's more important to me are the reviews of other people. I like seeing how excited they get about books that they've read, and when they get excited about it, it makes me want to read it even more. So I would say that reviews are more important to me when I'm trying to choose my books. 5, should one ever skim or scan a book? Sure, especially if it's a textbook. Or, I mean, I definitely skim certain things that are repetitive or drawn out and I just kind of flick through and get the gist of it and keep moving. So yes. Should reading always be enjoyable? If you're reading it for pleasure, yes. I mean, even if you're reading it to learn something, if you don't like the format you're reading or the writer, then you're not going to learn anything. So you need to find yourself a new book that you do enjoy on the same topic. So I would say that yes, you do need to enjoy what you're reading. Number 7, is it important to be well read? What does it mean to be well read? I think that books are a great way to open your mind, and I'm going to speak in generalities here, in that I think the people who read more do tend to be more open-minded and accepting of others than those who don't read. But books are not the only way to do that. I mean, even just consuming other contents, like watching YouTube videos of other people, reading Instagram or Twitter posts. Twitter might be pushing it a little bit, but Instagram posts or things like that that still give you others' perspective could still open your mind. So you don't necessarily have to get it through reading books, but in general, I do think it is important to be well read, even if well read means you read one book a year, right? Who knows what that means. The book buying process. All of them. Just buy all the books. Now, I do shop mostly online for books because books are expensive, and I usually do secondhand books. So usually what I do is I keep a list, on my Goodreads list of books that sound interesting that I hear about or see or whatnot. And when I get a good chunk, I will go through the secondhand shopping things and just typically buy in bulk, because then I can also get free shipping. So I do want to try and buy more local, because we do have quite a few independent bookstores here that I really should and want to support more, but new books are really expensive. So I also have to think about my budget, but at least, 1 or 2 books a month or every other month or however from an independent bookstore would be at least helping some. But my process really is just accumulation of book titles I want to read, and then finding the ones that are available when I'm ready to buy, and I typically buy in bulk. I have to, more often than not, be alone when I read. I don't like being around a whole lot of people or a lot of chaos. I like it nice and calm and quiet. I do read outside sometimes, so I usually get distracted because there are birds and squirrels and sounds and the sun, and I don't usually get a lot of reading done when I'm outside, but I need it to be quiet and calming and non-distractive. 10. How do you use what you read? I make videos. I only read for my own personal enjoyment, so I use it to satisfy myself. Okay, number 11. If you could download a book to your brain, would you still read? Yes, but only for enjoyment. I think the only books I would ever download to my brain would be maybe textbooks or a nonfiction book that I specifically want to learn something from and not necessarily experience the reading of it. Which kind of reminds me, have any of you watched, which I think is also based on a graphic novel, but there's a Netflix series, Lock and Key, and one of the things where they have these magical keys that do things, and one of them opens up your mind so that you can actually go physically inside your mind, and they have thrown books inside their mind and just magically known them. That I would do all the time. Number 12. What are your views on rereading a book? do it if you want to. There are books that I reread occasionally. If you love it so much, then there's a reason not to experience it over and over and over again. And honestly, the more times you read something, the more you probably notice things and love it even more. Okay, numbers 13 and 14 are what makes a book good and what makes a book bad. It really just depends on the book. I don't know. Let's see. I don't like books that are boring. It needs to keep my interest. So if it's interesting, it's a good book. If it's boring, it's a bad book. I don't have to like the characters, but if I don't like the characters, it has to be at least a compelling story to keep me going. I don't know. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out my reading taste and what I like and what I don't like and why I like it and why I don't like it. So that's a to be continued question. Number 15, how do you feel about not finishing a book? So for a very, very, very long time, I refused to DNF a book. I don't care how much I hated it, how long it took me, I finished a book. Every book that I started, I finished. But then it clicked, and if I'm not enjoying a book, why am I forcing myself to read it? There are so many books out there. Why would I try and force myself to read something I don't like when I could just as easily stop reading it and find something that I love? So I am a fairly new convert to DNFing, and I will DNF a book anytime, at any point, if I am not enjoying myself. Author's personal life matter at all? And I have a hard time with this one because my mind can very easily, and it quite often, and in fact I would say almost always, completely separates an author from their work. And I enjoy the story but know nothing about the author. But I do understand that can be an issue if we are supporting an author monetarily by buying their books. Although I will say, since I buy mine mostly secondhand, that I'm not actually contributing to any authors. But when we support them monetarily, we support any of their views that we may not agree with. And so I don't know. I mean, it should matter, I suppose. But I have a hard time separating the two, because more often than not, I can tell you the title of a book, but not even know who wrote it. So I don't know. I guess in the grand scheme of things, yes, it matters, because what we choose to support is the kind of world that we choose to live in by helping continue those views. But looking at it just from reading perspective, no, because I separate. I'm terrible at these kinds of questions. I'm so sorry. 17. If you could only read one genre for the rest of your life, what would it be? Well, that's easy. Basically, all I read is fantasy, so fantasy. Number 18. Do you ever read a book without knowing anything about it? Yes, I will cover by all the time and not know a single thing about this book, and I will start reading it. I even have sort of a vlog series, reading random books, doing just this very thing, and I oftentimes very much enjoy myself. Alright, number 19. What author, genre, series, or culture can you just not get into, and why? I don't read a lot of all the genres, but I do read probably nearly every genre. My favorite, of course, is fantasy, but I'll do science fiction, I will do contemporary, I'll do romance, I'll do historical fiction. I guess the only thing that I really have a hard time getting into are the classics. I know that's not necessarily a genre, but I suppose it's kind of a culture, because the people who love classic literature, love classic literature, and they have their own little bubble, their little group, which I can't, no matter how many times I try, I just can't make myself love it the way that they do. And I really don't know why. There are some that I enjoy, but it's just overall not for me. All right, and then 20 is, do you think everyone should read and why? Yes, everyone should read if you have the means to do so, and it doesn't necessarily have to be actually reading books. You can be listening to audiobooks, it doesn't matter. But I understand that some people don't like reading, but I think I've mentioned this in another question, but it just opens up your mind and your world to so many different ideas and topics and people and ways of life that really kind of helps you be more rounded as a human being, and I think that is important for everyone. All right, so those were all of my questions. I've never actually tagged anyone in a tag video before, but I'm gonna try it. So let's see, who do I want to tag? I think the people that I watch who I know have done tags before are Paige from the PM Reader. I would love to see you do this tag. Teresa from Sweet Tea Reads, I think, has also done tags, and I would love to see those answers as well. And then I have some people that I would love to hear their answers, but I've never seen them do a tag video, so I don't know if it would really be for them, but I'm going to tag you anyway. Erin Hawley, I would love for you to do this video. And Ray from Ray of Sunlight, I would really love to hear your answers to these questions. I know this isn't typically your kind of video, but even if you guys don't want to make a video and you just want to pick your favorite question and answer it down in the comments, I would love to hear that as well. So, and actually I tag anyone who wants to do this video themselves, and I would love to watch it as well. So if you do it, make sure you leave us a link down in the comments so that we can all watch your answers as well. And I hope that you enjoyed this, and I thank you so much for being here, and I hope that means I see you soon.